Hello everyone. Today I will recap the movie Togo. Before, Togo was originally a weak dog, with shaggy fur, and was playful. About 2 weeks ago, Togo was still very weak, but fortunately, he was rescued and raised by his kind owner, Constance. When Togo recovered, it became full of energy. However, Togo not only ran around, but also tore up many things and disobeyed his owner. Constance's husband, Seppala, could not stand it, so he decided to give Togo to a friend named Anderson. Anderson immediately returned Togo to Seppala. Anderson thought that Togo was not a normal dog, but a crazy dog. Since Togo, Seppala has never had a smooth training session with his dogs. No kennel can stop Togo from escaping. Every time Togo runs over, the Sled dog team is in chaos. Perhaps Togo was born with a leadership spirit, as it had always been able to attract and lead other dogs. A herd of deer nearby interested Togo, so it immediately charged after them. All the dogs behind him also chased Togo, despite Seppala's shouts. They continued to chase herd of deer until they got close to the riverbank. Because Togo was short, he could not see clearly because of the weeds blocking his view, and suddenly jumped into the river. Seppala, who was behind him, kept shouting for the dogs to turn left. However, when they got close to the riverbank, they realized something was wrong and turned left. But Seppala lost control and also plunged into the water. Then, when he saw Togo barking, he felt very frustrated. As soon as he got home, Seppala decided to lock Togo in the warehouse. Togo looked around and discovered a window and a chimney, from which it thought of a way to escape. After observing, Togo crawled into the cupboard, then climbed up from behind, knocking over things on the shelves to climb up each floor. Finally, Togo climbed almost to the ceiling and stuck his head through the chimney. When Constance saw Togo's head sticking out, it looked so cute, causing Constance to burst out laughing. Then, Togo jumped down from the roof and continued to go look for Seppala. A few minutes later, Seppala's screams echoed throughout the forest. He felt helpless and decided to take Togo a little further. No matter how much Constance advised, he did not change his mind. He insisted on taking Togo. So he gave Togo to a lady who lived far away from his house. She loved dogs very much, but Togo only wanted to be with Seppala. After Seppala left, Togo ran around without stopping. It was only a few hours later that it stopped. Did Togo give up? No, it did not give up. It's just thinking of a way out of this place. Togo later saw the window, took a few steps back, and ran away. Seppala thought he would never have to see Togo again and could return to his peaceful life. But he did not know that, in the new house, Togo managed to break the glass door and escape from home. Regardless of the danger, Togo decided to return to find Seppala. When Seppala saw that Togo was injured, he tied it to the end of the Sled dog team. However, Togo ran up to the lead of the dog team. Although he was just a young dog pulling a sled for the first time in the snow, Togo still wanted to be in the lead. Seppala did not agree with this. A dog next to him wanted to show Togo his power, but Togo was wise and used a gentle approach to win him over. Surprisingly, Togo ran faster than the experienced sled dogs, so Seppala has promoted it to second row. Whenever Seppala gave a command, Togo was always the first dog to respond. Thanks to that, Seppala gradually gave Togo the position of leader in the sled dog team. When he returned home, Constance was very surprised. Seppala happily told his wife that Togo was very special and would definitely become a champion in the future. From then on, he looked at Togo with more affection and loved him more. Seppala loved dogs, but he had one rule: no dogs in the bedroom. He trained Togo to be very obedient. He then asked Constance to help him test it. When Constance called Togo in the bedroom, he refused to come in no matter how she called. Time passed. 2 years later, Togo became the best lead dog in the team. At this time, a dog sled competition held every 4 years was about to take place. Seppala's team of dogs beat all the other teams to win. However, that was not all. When Togo was 12 years old, a diphtheria epidemic broke out in the village. The bacteria spread very quickly and had a high mortality rate. The serum needed to treat it was in the city several hundred kilometers away. Meanwhile, the weather became harsh when a huge snowstorm appeared. The only means of transportation was the dog sled, so Seppala was assigned to the task. That night, Seppala could not sleep, because he knew that this mission might make it impossible for him to return. Constance advised him not to bring Togo, because it was old. However, Seppala said that without Togo, he would definitely not be able to return. The next morning, Seppala said goodbye to Constance. She then told Togo that it had to help Seppala return, and it also had to try to return to her safely. The whole village had high hopes for Seppala and Togo. Everyone stood in front of their houses to cheer them on. Togo courageously led the team into the snowstorm. They did not fear danger, crossing each mountain range. The storm grew stronger. The snow blew hard into Seppala's face, making him unable to see anything. At this moment, suddenly danger struck. Togo realized a cliff ahead. It braked hard and barked to notify Seppala to stop. Seppala was startled to realize that they were standing in front of a deep abyss. He immediately braked, but due to the strong pulling force, the whole group continued to fall down the slope. He decided to jump out of the car, but before he could do so, he was pulled down the mountain. The whole group continued to slide down the slope without being able to stop. Finally, Seppala grabbed onto the cliff. He ordered Togo to lead the way up the mountain. At this time, the whole pack of dogs were scared and did not dare to move. Only Togo persistently pulled them up again and again. Togo's claws were worn until they bled. After many efforts, Togo helped whole group escape the danger. Seppala saw Togo's bleeding leg and his heart ached, but their time was running out. By evening, they found a place to rest. A local doctor named Adictolic helped treat Togo's wounds. They decided to stay there overnight. The next morning, the weather turned worse. To save time, Seppala decided to cross the glacier face. He knew that if he brought the serum back early, more people would be saved. Therefore, he did not hesitate to control the group of dogs running on the ice. Although many cracks appeared on the ice face, which frightened the dogs, Togo still firmly followed Seppala's command and continued to move forward. The dogs, despite the danger, continued to run. Seppala called each dog's name from behind to motivate them. The weather was now more severe than ever, with the temperature dropping to -50 degrees and the wind speed increasing continuously. At this time, the village chief reported this situation to the leaders and the newspaper to recognize their contributions. This story from a newspaper spread throughout the country. All the people in the country were following the journey of the army led by Seppala. On the city side, in order to support Seppala, they decided to send 20 sled teams to relay help him complete the mission. However, they did not know that Seppala had crossed an icy river. His speed was faster than expected, so it is very likely that he will miss the opportunity to be relayed. If he skipped the relay team, they could save time, but he would have a hard time enduring this harsh weather. At this time, he had been running in the snowstorm for a whole day and a night. He felt very cold and sleepy, but could only try to lead the dog team to continue moving forward. While the relay team was moving towards Seppala, Seppala's dog suddenly saw a herd of deer and immediately chased them. This caused them to deviate from the route. As Seppala was trying to reorganize the team, Ivanov from the relay team approached. Thanks to the barking of the dogs, Ivanov discovered Seppala. Ivanov quickly ran after them and called out loudly. But due to the strong wind, Seppala did not hear. After a while, a figure came back. It was Seppala. They went to a nearby stop to deliver the serum and rest. Seppala decided to cross the glacier face to return home. The icebergs on the river had separated and were getting further and further apart. They had to jump over each ice floe. Just a little carelessness, the whole team would fall into the sea. Seppala kept encouraging from behind, "Come on, come on." However, as they moved forward, the ice broke more and more. Behind them, the waves began to come, causing the iceberg to lose balance and tilt. Fortunately, Togo quickly jumped to another iceberg. Seppala turned around and saw that the entire iceberg behind him had broken apart and sunk. He urged him even more, "Hurry faster," but the distance between the icebergs grew further and further. The dogs easily crossed, but the tow truck got stuck. Togo and the dogs used all their strength to pull, saving Seppala's life. When they saw the edge of the forest ahead, Seppala was full of hope, but once again, reality slapped him hard. The last piece of ice they were standing on was quite far from the shore, making it impossible to jump over. Seppala thought for a moment, then used a tool to chisel the ice. Then, he tied a rope to Togo, placing all his trust and life in this dog. Seppala threw Togo hard towards the shore. Togo tried to pull the iceberg back to shore with all his might. Even though he was exhausted, Togo did not stop and continued to try to save Seppala. Meanwhile, the dogs also barked loudly as if they were cheering for Togo. Finally, the iceberg was closer to shore. At this time, Seppala chose the right moment to untie the rope, then shouted loudly. Herd of dogs rushed forward together. Then, Seppala wanted to let Togo sit down and rest, but Togo ran to the front of the team. It understood that Seppala was worried about him, but its responsibility was to bring Seppala back safely. Seppala was very sad, but had to listen to Togo. The snowstorm covered the sky, creating a beautiful but dangerous scene. The wind and snow blew so hard that Seppala could not see anything. He walked up to Togo and apologized, and said that the team could only rely on it. He couldn't see the way, so they would go to the next rest stop and rest a bit. He believed it could do it. The children at home were also counting on it. Despite the fierce snowstorm, Togo continued to move forward. Finally, Seppala couldn't stand the cold below 50 degrees and collapsed, falling asleep on the chair. When he woke up, it was already dark. He called Togo's name, but it was too tired, sleeping soundly on the ground and didn't hear. Seppala panicked and shouted, "Togo, they can't stop. If they stop, the whole team will die here." At this moment, a light was approaching them, and it was an old man in the village. At this moment, Seppala realized that Togo had accomplished his mission. All the children in the village had been saved. However, Togo was breathing very weakly. Seppala, who had never allowed dog in his bedroom before, made an exception and let Togo rest in bed this time, because he considered Togo a member of the family and was afraid of losing his little friend. The next morning, Seppala's house was bustling with visitors. They came to thank him and his brave dog Togo. The village chief also visited Togo, but Seppala was not happy. He just wanted Togo to recover quickly. After a few days of dedicated care from Seppala and Constance, Togo had recovered a lot. When Seppala had to go to work, he left Togo to rest at home with Constance. But Togo did not listen to, so it opened the door and ran out. Constance immediately chased after it. As Seppala was preparing to enter the forest, he heard Constance calling and saw Togo limping towards him. He stopped the car and reached out to greet Togo. The dog was as strong as 12 years ago. No one can stop Togo from running to find Seppala. He realized that Togo lived for him, and together they got through the difficult winter. A few months later, Togo was retired. After 12 years of hard work, Togo finally got a break. Over the next 2 years, Togo gave birth to his own puppies. Togo's puppies are as mischievous as is, creating a new breed called the Seppala Siberian, with characteristics of intelligence, loyalty, and courage. In December 1929, Togo passed away due to old age. Seppala continued to care for his dogs. On every trip, he always felt Togo's presence, as if the dog had never left him.